Hi everyone. Today we are gonna dive into the spell-based Manifest Armor Paladin build for Last Epoch Season 2. To start off, we're gonna look into the Manifest Armor and how it works, because Manifest Armor works a little bit differently compared to like default minions, like the other minions like Skeletons from the Necromancer or the Primalist, the beast minions there, companions. So let's dive into the Manifest Armor right here. So for Manifest Armor, the first thing you have to know is that besides the normal minion modifiers for gear, you also have the stats from your body armor, your helmet, your gloves, and your boots. Like the normal stats of those also apply to your Manifest Armor. So what that means is that, for example, let's just look at just an item. Like an item has cast speed. Let's say this one has the T7 cast speed. That's 30% for a max roll. That means that just a normal Manifest Armor, default Manifest Armor, gains 30% cast speed. Because he gains 100% of the stats of your item. But in the skill tree of Manifest Armor, there are a few nodes. And these nodes increase the effect gained from those items. So for in this example, the gloves has plus 240% increased effect, which effectively means, together with the base application from the items, means that every stat on your gloves will be 3.4 times the value for your Manifest Armor. So that's quite a lot, and that also changes the way you have to look at gear to scale your Manifest Armor's defenses and its damage. But for the spell version of Manifest Armor, we rely on the Blessed Forge node. The Blessed Forge node enables the Forge Breath skill for Manifest Armor, and the Forge Breath skill is like a cone of fire damage that he casts in front of it. Normally it has a 3-second cooldown, but there's this node behind it, which some people think it only halves the cooldown because it's minus 100, but it's actually like this removes the cooldown altogether. So it's the full cooldown is removed instead of it being halved, which effectively means that cooldown is no issue anymore, and he only will attack with this skill. He does no melee attacks in between. He only attacks with the Forge Breath. And it also allows us to then scale cast speed, because it does not have a cooldown anymore. And with the cast speed, we can scale how fast he attacks. And there's no limit because there's no cooldown anymore. Alright, besides that, that's basically the basic function of how Manifest Armor will work in this version, like a spell-based version. So we don't do melee attacks. We don't have it trigger a area around itself with shield throw. That's another build. We don't do the whirlwind. That's another build as well. So this is purely based around the Forge Breath spell. Forge Breath is a spell, has 350% damage effectiveness. It's a spell, which is good to know. I think that's all you really need from this. It also has the area attack, which will be important later on when we talk about the gear and how we are gonna increase the effectiveness of Manifest Armor. Okay. I think it's a good idea to show you first how this build runs in Echoes, to show how the gameplay looks and feels, because that's quite important to know before playing the build. That's good to know. I also want to do a disclaimer here. This build does not require any minion snapshotting. Normally there is this thing in the game right now that minions snapshot on summon with the gear you have equipped at that moment. So that means that normally you can have basically 2 gear sets. You have one gear set purely for summoning the minion, and then you swap back to another gear set, and the minion stays skilled on the first gear set you had. It's not the intended way to play, and it's probably gonna get removed next season. So this build is purely built around not having to use that. So the same gear that we run around in while playing is the same gear we use when summoning the minion. So we don't have to annoyingly resummon and re-gear everything. So that's no issue here. Alright. The servers are offline at the moment, so I cannot jump into the game. But I have a video of a echo run here. This is in 1.1, and don't look at the gear or the stats you see. It's purely visual for how the gameplay will feel. This is 510 corruption, I think it was in 1.1, and this was very average gear. Yeah, I'm gonna stop it right here for now. What you see us doing at the start of a echo before, this was in 1.1, was we had to cast the symbols of hope. And they were called sigils in 1.1, they are called symbols in 1.2. They were, we had to cast them ourselves and keep them up. But in 1.2, this is all automated. In 1.2, the sigils autocast from itself, from the base default skill, which means that we don't have to waste any mana or anything else on using this. We just slot it on the bar and it will autocast for us. Okay, what you see is the Manifest Armor. We can pause it right. Yeah. He shoots like a cone, frontal cone. That's the Forge Breath. That's the fire hit that he does. We have another cool interaction as well. There's this FX on experimental FX on gear, which you can do on your boots. And soon in 1.2 you can also do it on the ring with the champion FX. There's this minion transported on travel skill. And we use Healing Hands as a travel skill in this build. So every time we use Healing Hands, we travel towards that point we use it to, and the Manifest Armor also gets teleported with it. So that is incredibly good for clear and for not having to manage the minion that much. So every time you see us use the Healing Hands, he will get transported and start immediately casting. Yeah, again, so we don't have to wait till he comes back. We just use Healing Hands and he will come. So it casts very quickly, so that feels very good for the clear. All right. Yeah. So this shows a little bit of how the gameplay will feel in 1.2, because the gameplay doesn't really change that much, but we do get a lot of damage and defenses compared to 1.1, so that's very good. All right, we made a health version this time. That's fully going into health and health regen. So even on average gear, we are still 5.5k, 5.4k HP with like 1500, 1600 health regen. And then with max gear, we are at 6.1k HP and 2000 health regen. So that means that in 3 seconds we heal to full with health regen, which is pretty good. In 1.2, the biggest difference compared to 1.1 is that defenses like health regen and health in general has been buffed immensely. This skill's really good for our build for a variety of reasons. First, Manifest Armor. The hard part is for Manifest Armor to regen or leech. Like, we don't have that much leech for a spell-based Manifest Armor. And we also need, as a summoner, we cannot rely ourselves on leech, because we don't do the damage ourselves. So what we have to do is look at other ways to sustain. Normally, in the other summoners, like the Necromancer, for example, you can rely on ward and ward generation for the sustain for your summoner. Now, with the health regen buffed, we can, as a sentinel, we can really rely on health regen. The 2000 per second health regen is very comfy. It will basically heal any damage you get because you're already very tanky. Like the defenses of this build are very, very good. And then the sustain on top of that is gonna feel great. The damage of this build has been buffed a bit as well, but mainly via the amulet. The new amulet there is the Weaver's Amulet, which is giving our minion permanent frenzy, and on top of that also gives it 200% stats of the amulet item, which for example with amulets we can have a lot of stats which are very good. Crit strike multiplier, if we can get the tier 7, but it is a Weaver's item, so there are no guarantees you can really hit that. But there are a lot of stats that are very good for this item. Like we have the crit strike multi, that's the best one. There is elemental damage is okay, fire damage is okay, fire pen is okay. So there are quite some stats that are very good. Yeah, and even defenses, frailty on hit is great. No, just some additional health is also good. Otherwise, there's the flat health regen, which is very nice. Armor shred on it is very good for this build. So there are quite enough stats you can hit on this amulet. I guess we can just dive into all the items and how it's set up right now. Let's go a little bit back to the Manifest Armor first. Here, the skill tree. We have 28 skill points in Manifest Armor in this build, but it's mostly 26 is like the thing that is worth the most, and then the last 2 points are worth a little bit less compared to the rest. First, when leveling, you go into the left side to unlock the Blessed Forge. And what this does is we have here the helmet. We do 4 points in this, so we get 3.4 times the stats on our helmet for our Manifest Armor. And then why do we go into 4 for this? Is because the helmet actually there's this Peak of the Mountain unique. This Peak of the Mountain unique has a stat line of 240 to 290% increased crit strike chance. Now, normally this would already be quite a lot for an item, but for Manifest Armor, you have to look at this stat, and because we have 4 points into that node, we have to multiply this stat line by 3.4 times. So that's quite a lot of crit strike chance, and this combined with one Phantom Ring, which gives 4% minion crit strike chance, combined with the crit chance from this, combined with the 5%, the 5% default crit that the Manifest Armor has, will almost cap its crit strike chance to 100%. We'll get a little bit below that, but we are fixing that with symbols, with the crit chance from symbols or the crit chance from Holy Arrow that we'll get into later. So we are capping quite easily the crit chance of the Manifest Armor. So that's why we need 4 points into this. Then we have quite a good node here that gives 10 spell flat damage and 50% more fire damage. So this is a separate more multiplier. That's always good. Then we have, of course, the Forge Breath node. This removes the cooldown. And this is just additional area and more damage. Then on the other side, we have 4 points into gloves. Gloves are very important for this build because there are very good stats on gloves. Most importantly, the cast speed, which we use to skill. So for gloves, we can actually run the Hand of Judgment gloves, why do we use this one? It's because it has a stat line of fire penetration on the item, which is another separate more multiplier to scale our damage. Its skill, if it goes up to 24%, and again, because we have 4 points into the glove node, this would be 24 times 3.4, and that's the amount of fire penetration that your Manifest Armor will get. So that's quite a lot from just one glove, and it's just one stat line as well, because we have additional attunement for ourselves, and then on as the extra stats that we add on top of it to make it a legendary. It's the most important one is cast speed. So a T7 cast speed gives 30% cast speed. Again, with the gloves node, we multiply this by 3.4 times, and that's the amount of cast speed that the Manifest Armor will get. So that's quite a lot. Same for the area skills. The Forge Breath node has an area tag. So that means that this would also be 20% times 3.4. That's the amount of area increase that the fire cone will have. And then lastly, for the shred armor on hit, there's this T5 will give 100%. With the Manifest Armor, it will be 340% on every hit. Alright. Then we have here another more multiplier, a little bit less armor, but we don't really notice that. And then this node is quite misunderstood sometimes. What this effectively means, like this, it says Manifest Armor gains a sword with skills which are equipped weapon stats, and it says equip a sword. But some people think that it will only scale off of sword stacks, of like a sword weapon. But that's not true. This will work on any weapon you have equipped, even while dual wielding. It will get both weapons stats, and the attack speed is the average of the two, I think. But in our case, we use it to give our Manifest Armor basically our stuff. And on a staff, we can have a lot of modifiers. Okay, so let's talk about this, right? The Gate Staff is the staff with the biggest base spell damage. It's 102 to 122. The increased mana cost for spell skills doesn't matter because our Manifest Armor, the Forge Breath, doesn't cost any mana. Then we have Critical Strike Multiplier. This will apply for the Manifest Armor because we have that node that it equips our weapon. So since we are critting 100% of the time, this 80% is very nice modifier to have. And we also run a T7 cast speed to even further let it cast more quickly, which feels great for a lot better for clear. So I rather have more hits than more damage per hit. And in the DPS calculations, this is also above the rest. Then we have like two additional minion flat spells that we utilize. And for the sealed effects, we can get another 10% fire penetration. And this works because it will 5% of mean fire penetration is basically for the summoner, which affects the manifest armor, and the fire penetration and the mean fire penetration also gets affected on the manifest armor, but it doesn't use its own stat because he doesn't have its own minions, right? He does use the first stat line, so the normal fire penetration as well. So that plus the 5% underneath, it's basically sort of double dipping. So that's 10% fire pen for a T1 sealed FX, which is pretty good. That is why the weapon we have. And then for the rest of the points in Manifest Armor, we do 2 points into an additional 80% of extra effect from our body armor, which means he will get 1.8 times the effects from our body armor. And on our body armor, we use the new Mantle of the Pale Ox item. And why do we use this one? Well, it's basically for the damage reduction that is new. So that's the stat line that will 24% of damage redirected to your highest health minion. So that means that the Manifest Armor will take 24% of the damage we take will go to our Manifest Armor, which is fine because our Manifest Armor will sustain any damage that we throw at him. Besides that, it also gives increased health for you and your minions. We are a health build, so that's very beneficial for both of us. This will also double dip for the Manifest Armor. So he will gain like the 32% increased health for your minions. He will gain just a standard 32, and then the 32% increased health for you, which also works for like the Manifest Armor then, will be times 1.8. So he will get around like 70, 65% increased health from just that stat line. The movement speed is nice to have. The strength will give additional armor and a little bit of health for the Manifest Armor as well. And the Manifest Armor is a strength skill. Plus he skills of strength and attunement. So that also means we get +2 from for the Manifest Armor. Then for the stats we apply on top of it to make it a legendary, we use the increased shred armor effect. That's an FX specifically for sentinels. And since we apply like 3.4 here and another 100% from the passive tree, our Manifest Armor will have 4. He applies like 4 armor shreds on stacks on targets with 1 cast, and those stacks will have increased effect. So this plus like the 1.8 will be around 200% of increased shred armor effect. So that means he basically applies effectively like 8 stacks per cast. So that's pretty good for the armor shred. That's basically why we use this new body armor. We did look a little bit at the Peak of the Mountain item, but for the FXs on it, we mainly want the +4 levels to Manifest Armor. And the health regen is very important, because that's basically how we sustain our Manifest Armor. So let's talk a little bit about that. Manifest Armor, we don't have any leech for his spellcasts. So how do we sustain the Manifest Armor then? Well, there's this minion health regen, flat minion health regen affix, which can get on a belt or a generic relic. So not the Sentinel specific relics, but the generic relics you can get the FX as well. And these will give the Manifest Armor a flat minion health regen. So this would be tier 5 mods will be 180 minion health regen. And those minion health regens are very easily scalable with percent increased health regen. And normally that's very hard stat to get for minions, but since our Manifest Armor gets affected by our stats on our items, we can get like health regen on Helm, which would be in this case 82%, or from 54 to 82%. And then you have to multiply it by 3.4. So that's like it gets close to 250 to 270% increased health regen just from this one stat on your helmet. So combining all that, and from the amulet you have the 98% decreased health regen, which also gets doubled for the minion. So combine every health regen node. If you combine that, the Manifest Armor will regen a few thousand health as well per second. So that's how we sustain the Manifest Armor. Okay, and besides that, we have increased fire damage. T5, it's 50%, 50% times 3.4 again for the Manifest Armor. And then just some additional health if you can manage to get a tier 4 over LP4 helmet. It should be quite easy to get these. They have a high drop chance and they're very low effective level for legendary potential. So these should be very easy to farm. Same for the End of Judgment. They have a very good effective level for legendary potential. So at least at LP3 should be quite achievable. And then for the ring, the Phantom Grip ring is purely here for the base me and crit chance. And then the +2 levels is nice as well. And then we just put attunement and some health and health regen on it. Right? Okay. So for belt, it's very simple. Me and health regen, armor base, the increased me and health, increased health percentage. That's what we skill. If for some reason we need more damage in 1.2, then we can change the me and health to increase me and damage. It should be no problem because we also have more health from other sides. Like our Mantle of the Ox already gives a lot of health to our minion, so we just have to play around with those. And same for the rings. We have me and health on this as well. Yeah, that's just a feel. If he's not dying, then you can just change this to me and damage increased. As you can see, we also have some attunement on our gear. Few spots for attunement from our gloves, from rings, from the relic, and from the passive tree as well, which we'll dive into later, the passive tree. But attunement skills quite a lot of things now. So start with the skill. The Manifest Armor skills of attunement. He gains per point of attunement, he gains 10 minion health and 4% decreased minion damage. Attunement in itself also gives flat mana. We don't really use flat mana, so that's not really useful for us. But in the new passive trees, there are a few attunement scalars where we gain additional endurance per attunement, where we gain increased health gen per attunement. Yeah, so there are a lot of attunement scalars, so that's pretty good. But there's not really room to get more attunement. We might, if needed, you can also D7 the attunement and get a little bit less health and less health regen. But that's probably not even needed with the amount of damage we already doing. So this build has been purely specialized into defensive. This is the full defensive setup, and then if needed we just increase the damage. But the damage is already high enough to be clearing all the content in the game. We don't know about the Uber Aberov yet, how strong that one is, so we'll have to see about that. But for the rest of the game it's high enough. Yeah, we have boots. Boots are quite simple as well. You have to produce bonus damage taken from critical strikes. It's that the base from this plus the T5 FX on the boots as well is 80%, and then the less 20% we have from the belt. So that's how we are being crit immune. So we don't take any damage from crits. For the rest, we have what's important is the experimental effects, the increased minion damage and minions teleported around you when you use a traversal skill. That's important, but we only need the first tier because we only have one minion, and further increasing will increase a little bit of damage, but not enough to be worth it. I rather have the increased movement speed. That feels really good. So that's how we do it. There's also, you can also get it on a ring if needed, but there's nothing else we quite could use on the boots. So we just plop it on the boots and then use something else for rings. I think that's all the items. Then for idols, these are the new idols, and these are very good for us, the new idols. Okay, we have the increased, we have a few of those, the small weaver idols, the one by ones. These ones will increase health regen, flat health, and poison resistance. We had a little bit of poison resistance to cap out the poison resist we need. So we have 3 of those. I made sure to only include 1 special effects for the idols and not do 2 special effects because we don't know how rare the double special effects will be. But if it's a lot more common, then we can use well, you can get some other resistances, or you get the bonus poison resistance, which is even higher and then gives the minion as well. But this would be sufficient, the 1 special effects only. For the other 1x1 idols, we use a normal armor prefix and a special health and added health regen. This is quite a lot. It's like 3 flat health for a 1x1 idol is very good. And then for the armor, we use this one. If the special affixes are quite easily obtainable to get like 2 special effects on 1 idol, then we can run the armor and increased armor. That would be quite a lot of armor, but we don't know how these ones drop, like how often. So we'll just use in the planner the normal armor. And then we have 2 of those bigger ones, because we can only fit 2 of those in. These will help with flat armor and armor increased. It's quite a lot. But mostly we have a new enchanted FX, which gives me in cast speed and added me in flat spell damage. We run 2 of those. Again, we don't really know how often these drop with enough Weaver's Touch to get double T7, which means in the planner we only used 1 T7, and then if you have if there's room to improve, like or to get more, then the increased armor and armor applies to dots would be a great second choice to get. Be a lot of armor as well, but we'll have to see how often these roll in the game. Let's move. Those are basically the idols, and then let's move on to the blessings. We have a flat health here. We have big health regen and health regen flat. It's very nice. We have all resistance here. We might tweak the build a little bit during the season launch, where we don't really need this, and then we can, for example, give Armenian even more defenses, but it's probably not even needed. But if we, for some reason, lack a little bit of defense, we can do that. Otherwise, this one would be just fine. We have the armor increased blessing. It's very nice. As you can see, we have quite a lot of armor as well, even though we have a very low armor body base. So that's very nice. And then we have the 100% increased melee damage on this blessing. Which you could also, if you really need it, you can go even more armor here, or something else. But the melee damage is very nice. Okay. Then we have the passives, which is good to talk about. For the base 3, we do 8 points into the Fearless, which increase our health via the Vitality. Gives a little bit of resistance as well, and mostly the health regen. We have 2 points in Strength. Strength gives armor, and Fire and Void Resist we don't really need, but so that's just a 2-point dump, because we need 20 points. Armor Clad is always a pickup. It's 10% less damage taken from nearby enemies and gives some flat armor. Very nice. And the Valiant Charge helps us reducing the cooldown of our Healing Hands movement skill, and also gives some flat health. That's the basic 3. For Void Knight, we only use 5 points to get a little bit of health, cap our resistance via Void and Physical, and get the free Void and Physical damage taken -5%. It's very nice. Then we go into the Forge Guard tree. Here we use the Battle Hardened. Gives us additional armor when hit, and also helps us cap our physical resistance. We go 3 points into this node, so our Mian is stun immunity, which is quite important, especially in higher corruption, so he doesn't get stunned that often. He doesn't get stunned at all with this. Then we have this node for 120 health and 80% health regen. Very nice. We have 5 points into this for me, and armor shred chance is 100%. It's good as well. And we have 5 points into this to get 5 attunement, some armor. The Mian also gets some armor. And the damage of die mitigation from armor per 2 attunement is very, very nice as well. We have like 70, 75, 80 per attunement. So that would be like 35 to 40% damage over die mitigation from armor just from this node alone. Then the Paladin tree has had a big change compared to 1.1. we have a lot of cool new nodes that scale really well for our build. So we take this for elemental resistance to cap that. We gain a little bit of extra endurance threshold per 2 uncapped elemental resistance, which is not that bad because we have Holy Aura as well, which will give quite a lot of elemental resistance. So that would be quite some endurance threshold. We use this to cap endurance and gives us additional health. We have this node which got a new threshold bonus 5 points, which also gives more flat health regen, which is great. We gain flat health, which is great, and this helps cap our necrotic resistance. As you can notice, a lot of our resistances are being fixed via the skill trees and the passive tree, so that saves a lot of pressure on your gearing and on the progression you have during the game. So this would be quite a smooth starter. We have 8 points into Faith Armor, which gives a lot of armor, flat health regen, and the threshold node that increase health regen per attunement. We had to use 2 additional points, so we go into dedication for 2 attunement. Then we can unlock the player Aegis node, which will give additional health and endurance threshold, but most importantly gives 7 endurance per 2 attunement. It's quite a lot. This node is very interesting. This is also a new node that increases Holy Aura and Symbol of Hope effect by 20%. It's just free stats and free damage. And we have this Covenant of Protection node, which is new, which also increase armor mitigation applies to damage over time by 10%, which is always nice. And then gives a flat 5 health regen from Symbol of Hope. Very nice. We run 5 Symbols of Hope, so that's 25 flat health regen just from this node alone for that. It's very cool. And then we have 5 points into Divine Essence. That's granting a Divine Essence each second while at high health. Well, we're going to be at high health a lot because we have so much sustain. Which means we should basically have permanent uptime of these essences. You can have 3, maximum of 3. And these reduce damage over time you take by 5% each. And they also grant 15% increased armor and healing effectiveness, which is nice as well. This is basically our passive tree. So a lot of good nodes, especially late in Paladin, there are very good nodes. Let's dive into the skills, shall we? Let's start with the Symbols of Hope, the old sigils. These will now summon automatically, so we don't have to cast them anymore. And we don't want to cast them as well. You can activate them to consume, and then they grant less damage taken, but we are so tanky that we don't need this. And we rather just keep them permanent at all times, so our allies, because it will cause you and your allies attacks and spells to deal additional damage and increase health regen. So this also affects your Manifest Armor. So that's quite a lot of, we can run, normally you can run 3, we have 2 additional from the tree. So we run 5. We have here also a more 25% increased damage granted per symbol, and an additional 3% or 3 flat fire damage per symbol for you and your allies, which means that every symbol will gain 6 additional fire damage. It's even more than that because we have the 20%. We have this node now, so 20% increased effect as well. So that's let's say 7 or 8 flat fire damage for each symbol. So that's quite a lot of extra damage that the symbols will grant to your Manifest Armor. They don't have to be on cast on the ally. Like there's this node that Symbols of Hope cast on allies, but that doesn't matter because that's only for the active effect actually. But if you have them around you, they will affect all your allies. We gain also additional endurance threshold per symbol, which is great. We don't have added more nodes, but if we would have more levels into symbols, then we would put them into iron symbols. And the rest is just a way to get more maximum symbols. But these are very nice. Then Holy Aura will also affect you and your Manifest Armor. Normally the default version already does 30% decreased damage and 15% additional elemental resistance. But we will gain a lot of more. We have this node, which will give us a lot of endurance and extra elemental resistance, and also some elemental resistance for our Manifest Armor. We go into this node for travel. Ignite chance and electrify chance doesn't really matter for us. We have this node for additional fire penetration for our Manifest Armor. 10% is pretty good for 2 points. We have some cast speed here, 6%, it's okay. And then we have 40% crit chance. We can give our Manifest Armor as well here. And then for this will grant more health regen for you and your Manifest Armor, and we both skill of that, so that's great. And then we use poison resistance from this, and quite importantly, the cleanse is very nice here. So we don't really need the Holy Aura for damage activations, we just use this for cleansing if when needed to cleanse like poison stacks or anything else. Okay, that's Holy Aura. Then Manifest Armor we already went through. Healing Hands has some nice interactions. We can make it a travel skill here. There's a cooldown duration of 6 seconds. We have 30% cooldown reduction from the passive tree in the base tree. But there's this node that reduces the cooldown recovered on ally healed by 75%. Which means that if we use this and we heal with Healing Hands our ally, which is the Manifest Armor, the cooldown of Healing Hands will be reduced by 75%. Now a nice interaction with this is that the Healing Hands, if you make it a travel skill, you travel towards the location and it does a AoE heal around you. Well, we have a FX on our boots that will transport our minion with when we travel, like with the travel skill. So when we use Healing Hands, we travel to a location, then the FX triggers that the minion is teleported next to you, and then the heal from Healing Hands will trigger afterwards. So if your Manifest Armor is damaged, using Healing Hands will always trigger this node, as long as your Manifest Armor is damaged at that moment that you teleport in. Besides that, you're immune while moving. That's very nice to heal up while you're immune and traveling, or just to evade some attacks, right, from bosses. We're going to here to reduce the mana cost, and then we have some additional healing that we do. We have still quite some healing effectiveness, even though we're not specializing into it. So Healing Hands will help with an additional recovery as well. And then lastly, we have a Rebuke. And Rebuke, we can just stay into Rebuke for quite a long time, because our Manifest Armor will just keep attacking while we are safe inside Rebuke, right? Rebuke gives 80% damage reduction by default. Yeah, and we have like more health regen while inside, we have more armor while inside, and we also gain these buffs for a few seconds afterwards. We have additional cooldown recovery speed, more duration, and we have 2 charges. So we can stay for quite a while inside Rebuke. And we are very tanky outside of Rebuke. Like our effective health is pretty good outside of Rebuke. If we enable Rebuke and are inside of it, we're basically immortal to anything. So, and we still do damage, mind you. Yeah. So that's quite nice. Yeah, as you can see, even without Rebuke outside, then we still have a lot of effective HP. This should be very sufficient for the most or everything in the game. I think that's basically everything from this build. This is gonna be my starter as well for season 2. I'm gonna be playing this on stream, and then you can follow on stream and just ask questions in chat, and you can follow the build. We might do some changes if needed while playing it, but this seems like a very refined version of the build. We have put quite a lot of thought into this in the build. I want to thank Tomako on Discord for helping with a little bit sparring about what and mapping out some DPS and defensive options. That really helped a lot. But yeah, I think that's it for now. If you have any questions, put it down in the comments below. The planner is also in the description, and I'll be online like an hour before launch today to on the stream on Twitch. I'll put the link also in the description. So be sure if you have any questions to also ask them there. That's about it. And I'll probably do some update videos like day 1, day 2 updates, which we'll put on this YouTube channel. But yeah, that's it. And I want to thank you all for watching. Bye bye.